Recording. Awesome. Super excited. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
So I have Sarah Morrison on with us today, and I'm super thrilled to have you, Sarah. Hi. Welcome. Thanks for
Hi,
taking the time.
hi. Yeah,
So Sarah is a longtime friend of mine. We met, I was trying to restore the timeline over a decade ago.
probably. I feel like we went to Chicago together, like one of those when there was like 11 of us who went to that fitness convention. And you were lucky to room with me.
That's where it started, and it was, I think, 2009. And I remember sitting in the front seat of the whatever SUV you were driving, and you go, "What's your story?" And I'm like, "Who are you? Why are you asking me this?" So Sarah comes from a background in journalism, so your natural desire to ask questions and get to know people and tell stories has really been a great part of your business success, I feel like. So
Aw, thanks. Sometimes I just feel nosy and I try to remind people, I'm like, it's just the reporter in me. I'm curious. Sorry.
so it's kind of fun to be on the other side of the asking questions today
Yeah,
and having you on this interview. Good
for
deal.
sure.
She's ready. Okay,
Yes.
so we're gonna make it super easy, super relaxed. But here's the purpose. So today I invited Sarah to talk with us and to us about her financial success. I'll cut right to the chase. Sarah, I truly believe you're like one of the most humble people I know who is financially successful, who has built her business. And even though you kind of let people know that that's been a part of your journey, you don't lead with this. And I truly appreciate it, but I am curious. So I do want to ask you a few questions.
I love being an open book about it. But yeah, you're right, because that's not why I started any of these businesses. They're all started from my own personal need. And then I think a desire to connect with people. And then it grew into something big from there. But happy to share whatever you ask.
Awesome. So Sarah, I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about your story, but so you guys know, Sarah is an online entrepreneur. She started in the fitness world and fitness industry, and that's how we were Zooming before Zoom was cool.
Yeah.
And from there, Sarah started a new business, and you'll tell us a little bit about both. So give us kind of a general idea who you are, what you do, what do you do on a daily basis, and what your businesses are all about.
Okay, let's try and sum it up. So, like Jenya mentioned, I was a broadcast journalist, and then a fun, different story. I'll keep short. I ended up meeting my husband and was going to have to move if I was going to be in broadcast journalism, because the goal was to be on Good Morning America. And I met him at my first job. And so I ended up leaving the news industry and staying in the smaller town of Alpena, Michigan, which is in northern Michigan. And I started working part-time at a health club because I was like, well, I'm never going to grow at the news station here. So I don't want to continue to do that stuff. And when I started working part-time at fitness, I was introduced to this whole new world, and I became a fitness instructor and a personal trainer, but I also became an online health and fitness coach partnered with Beachbody. And I did that because I personally loved the products and I wanted to get a discount. Plus I saw a lot of people doing it and they seemed happy and like they were going places, and the FOMO in me was like, I feel like I need to be a part of that. And that was almost 11 years ago now. And over time, I've just gotten my own results and shared here and there. It really has been the compound effect of just continuing to show up, continuing to be curious enough to stay connected and to try something new, to invite people to join me, to cheer them on. And over the years, I have gotten in great shape. I have also changed my mindset from a pessimistic person to definitely more optimistic. Not that I'm happy all the time, but I have definitely trained myself to expect the best and to see the good more than I focus on the bad, which is a way better way to live. And then we have really, I don't even know how to put it, but had a lot of financial success too. And we paid off our house before the age of 40 this past April. So right in the middle of the pandemic, right when it started, I'd already been planning to be able to do it by then, but it was even kind of more interesting to be able to pay it off during a pandemic, which was a huge relief. So being able to be debt free before the age of 40 because of this partnership that I took on with Beachbody so long ago that I just want to do for myself. And then I share it here and there. And Beachbody does not guarantee any level of income success. It really is just based on what you do with it, your own skill, your own consistency. And then I'm also a mom. I should mention along the way, there's been a couple of kids, and I worked at a health club as a communications director for a really long time. I still teach group fitness classes, but currently I am just working on Beachbody coaching. And then my friend Betsy and I created a planner last year called the Run Your Day Morning Mindset Planner. That is a lot of just organizing your to-do list, all the things that happen in life, some personal development and inspiration in there. So that's been a really fun whole new kind of business. And again, when Betsy and I created it, it wasn't like, let's make a business. Like that just doesn't sound that exciting to me. It's more like, oh, I need this planner. Oh, I can't wait to have this, because I was kind of doing this on just sheets of paper. And the idea of having it in a nice spot all in one was very appealing. And so we made it for kind of our own need. And then other people were like, where can I get that? So now we have an Etsy shop, and we have been getting them into stores, which is fun. So I joke that I'm like, I have this Beachbody business that no one really grows up thinking I'm going to be part of this network marketing company and be successful. Like that's just not something that is a college course or anything like that. So it's been interesting to have this business over here that's been a great business. It's a very different business model though. Like I don't have to get a ton of licensing. I don't have to figure out products. I don't have to research and develop. I don't have to do a ton of marketing beyond just making connections, shipping, any of that stuff. And then with our planners, this is like, oh, I have to go to the courthouse and I have to get some kind of EIN number and paperwork. So Betsy and I are always joking that this is business 101 with our planners. But those are the two things I have going on right now, is full-time coach and then working on growing our planner business.
That's exciting. Tell me a little bit about the planner before we jump in any further. So who is it meant for? Is it an entrepreneurial woman? Is it just a busy mom? Who's it best suited for?
It is suited for anyone, anyone whoever feels like there's too much in their head and they need to get it down on paper, or anyone who ever feels like I saved these, Jenya, to use as an example. Like this used to be my life. Anyone who's got this going on and just wants less Post-its, or like knows that they had the list of what they need to do, but now it's at the very bottom of their purse, or they're always forgetting stuff. In the start of our planner, we talk about like we have so many roles in life. Like you could be a mom, you could be a daughter. Like I know a lot of friends who are taking care of parents now. You've got your job, like all the things, you're volunteering for something. They all have things that need to happen. And it's just like this nice, clean list where you can fill in what needs to happen and check it off. And what I love is, I would carry around Post-its because I was like, I didn't cross off this Post-it yet. So now like I can flip back and just be like, okay, that was 3 weeks ago. I just need to do it by now. But at the very top, we have self-care. And I think that part, like when Betsy and I put that on there, it was just because like, duh, we had a good self-care routine ourselves. But I have realized since making this how many people don't do daily self-care. And it's a game changer when you put yourself on your to-do list. So I think that makes it very different than a lot of other planners. And what I also love about it is it's not a planner that's ever going to make you feel bad. Sometimes there's like, oh, I didn't fill out this and I didn't do this. And oh, I was supposed to do this. And I needed to meditate and say this mantra. Like some of that stuff's in there if you want it, but it really is just a place to organize your life. And I like that.
Good deal. We'll make sure we'll link it so anybody who wants to check it out will have a chance to see a copy or get a copy. Because I love planners and I'm all about optimizing and organizing and helping women just, as you said, get that out of your head and on the paper and just process it and have a better life. I mean,
it feels so good to have it on paper. It feels like putting money in the bank to me. Like, oh, that feels good. I feel more secure instead of having all this stuff, because you're just scatterbrained when you have it all there.
That's exciting. And I saw your husband just recently started using it. So that's so fun. That's super fun.
He's already a better husband. Because you know what? Like, he's the perfect example of someone who never made time for himself.
Hmm.
So he just very much kind of ended up waking up Groundhog's Day, waking up Groundhog's Day. And people living in Groundhog's Day just aren't that much fun. But when you take time to actually be like, oh, I'm going to do that workout for me, or I'm going to go for a walk today, because I always say I want to do it and I never do.
Hmm.
And like, then you get to check it off. You're kind of like, I was supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's already, I can tell a difference.
That's awesome. And
Yeah, so this can even be for men, because nowadays, we don't associate pink with anything. So it can totally be for men.
that's awesome. No, I love that. And I love the idea of just normalizing things like taking care of yourself, making yourself a priority, working on yourself, whether you're a woman or a man, whether you're an entrepreneur, a 9 to 5, or a combination of those. And I truly love bringing, like, talking about that. So it just becomes a norm, whether
Mhm.
it's your mental health or self-care or a combination of. And that's one of the reasons I have you on today, because I want to normalize us talking about money and financial stability and possibilities, and just, I don't know, expose people to the fact that yes, you can talk to a person who is financially successful or uh, is ahead of you in the financial game, and not stereotype them or villainize them. And that's one of the big things that I want to uncover today. Tell me a little bit, talking of the mindset, you coming from a place of pessimism and being totally okay with being not to call you average, but living an average life where you have a job, you do things because you have to. What switch? How did you go from there to now quitting your job where somebody else was providing you a paycheck, whether it's full time or part time, and now being fully supporting yourself and your family financially? It had to be more than just wanting the money thing.
Yeah. There's probably so many things, but two things came to mind when you said that. So the first thing was just I had to change my mindset about what I was capable of. So much of it is our own self-limiting beliefs. I grew up without a lot of guidance, and we've all got our things. We've all got something to
Amen.
overcome. And so I just no one ever like kind of planted seeds where I could dream bigger. And so, yeah, I was very committed to like, this is who I am. Like, I'm average, like, get out of me. Like, don't try to make me do personal development. And I remember like someone asked me what would make me feel secure. Like, I think I had a teacher one time that was like, what would actually make you feel happy was it? And I was like, feeling secure in life would probably make me feel happy. Like, I just would feel safe. And then they were like, what would that mean? I'd be like, I'd need to make $40,000 a year. That was like what I put out there. I had no idea. I was just throwing it out there, but then this number kind of stuck with me. And like now $40,000 a year, it doesn't fit the lifestyle that I wanted to have whatsoever. So it was me realizing like I could dream bigger. But I think the biggest thing in mindset was changing from a scarcity mindset to an abundant mindset. And scarcity can mean so many things, but for me, it was kind of like there's already too many people doing this, or there's too many people that are successful, or I can't stand out because they stand out. Like, and just realizing that scarcity isn't a thing. Abundance is very real. And just because I get a bigger piece of the pie doesn't mean there's not more pie for people and stuff like that. And just realizing like they can have it and I can have it. They having it means I can have it. Like, it's more proof that I can have it. So kind of just changing overall how I feel about that.
Mhm.
And so changing my mindset. And then I know like visualization, like I remember my first paycheck, one of them was like around $14 and from my coaching business. And I was like, sweet, like that's money in my gas tank. And I was like, what if it becomes $28 next week? And I just would kind of picture it. And as it would grow, like when it would get to $1,000 a week, I'd be like, wow, okay, like what's it going to be next? And I would kind of set this new visualization goal. And I knew that for me to make, 1,200 a week, it would mean this had to happen in my business. So I kind of knew where I wanted to go next, like these kind of stepping stones. And it was like, what does that mean over here? Like, worry less about this. And what does that mean over here? Like, is that me inviting 3 extra people a month? Is that me like digging in and helping my team a little bit more? Is that me like putting together a fun team event where we can like showcase what we do or something like that? So I've done that so often where I've seen the number and I just start to picture a new number. And like, I don't really, I think, plan it out, but just picturing it lets me know I got to go take some action.
Okay, I love it. So what I'm hearing for those who might not be familiar with multi-level marketing concept, but simply put, if you start planting seeds and you start seeing results, instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm not there yet, or how do I make it 20 leaps, right? 20 steps ahead, saying, what if? What's the next step? And not just imagining the number, but actually reverse engineering the actions and taking the darn action.
Yeah, action matters more than results. If you just focus on the results and aren't willing to take the action, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah, I love it. So good. So tell me on the scarcity mindset. So easy to get trapped in the fear and not enough, not good enough. Somebody already has it. That means I can't have it. If they have more, I have less. I think, and I talk about it a lot, but I think we all have different perspective, and I'd love to hear yours. So when you say I decided to change my mind, it's not like one day you wake up and say, okay, no, I think there is enough for everybody. Now I think I can, reach the 7-figure, and now I can do this and that. So what were the steps? You said a little bit about, just kind of rewiring your own thought process, but what are some of the tips or tricks we can share with everybody to start inching towards that abundance mindset?
You know, um, Being willing to find the personal development that works for you. So I feel like I found the things I could plug into that inspired me, made me feel out of my comfort zone, but felt more inspired versus just out of my comfort zone and freaked out. Because that was a real thing for me where if I was out too far, I'd be like, I want to pack it up and go home. And
Mhm.
so, like, even following other people in my industry, I'd look at their stuff and feel paralyzed because, like you were just saying, like, you're here, but you want to be here. Like, that just doesn't happen. And that can be so overwhelming. And so it was really finding other people that inspired me where I was like, if they're doing it, I can do it. Oh, I like what they did. Like, it was more like they're just further down the road from me, but this is so doable. I can relate to them. So finding those kind of voices that made me feel like I could do it too. Tuning out the ones that really sucked me back into comparison, because that's a place where I could easily go. I'm sure a lot of people could. And then, like, I remember I tried to read You Are a Badass 3 times.
Mhm.
And I did not like it until the third time. And the third time it changed my life. I'm rereading The Compound Effect right now by Darren Hardy, and I love it. Love it. But the first time I read it, I was like, gosh, am I done yet?
Yeah.
So it's just being willing to, like, I was just telling my husband because he's reading Compound Effect 2 right now, and he's actually like liking it. And I was like,
Mhm.
remember when we first read this and we were both just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So being willing to stay in the game and know that, like, personal development might not feel great. And sometimes you have to find your own way. And sometimes even just trying counts that day.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that kind of answers your questions, that some of the actual things to change the mindset was just a willingness to stay in the game. Just like you would change your health. Like, if you're going to change your body and you want to lose 20 pounds, so much of that is just your commitment to stay in it.
Yeah.
Because you might lose 15 and be like, this is amazing. Then all of a sudden you might gain 3 and now you're losing 8. You know what I mean? Like, that's what
Mhm.
happens. But
Yeah.
are you actually committed, or are you going to throw it away once it's hard?
So if we talk about the long-term game, how did your financial goals play into your success vision in general, and what does success look like to you when you guys casted the vision for business, as a family? How did the money talk play into that, and how big of a part was it, and was it a part of a conversation?
Yes. Okay. I got 2 answers because I heard 2 great questions in there. Um, so when the coaching business started actually making an income beyond me paying for my own product, I was like, whoa, like, I never thought I would have I just kind of was prepared to live a life without tons of extra money. Um, and at first I would set goals for visual things. And I remember my sponsor Trina saying, what would you do with an extra $100? And I was like, I want to buy a running Garmin. That was like one of my first goals. And I think I got that within a month because they're $150, like the one I wanted. Of course, I picked the cheapest one. And they might not be anymore. I don't even know. But I got that right away. I remember my friend was going to Chicago and I was like, will you go to the Garmin store and buy me one? And she's like, sure. And so that was cool. I was like, I can't believe I just bought this for myself.
Hmm.
And kind of like this guilt free, like, this was extra. Like, this is kind of beyond what we had to cover life over here. And then some other goals were like paying off my husband's student loans. I paid off my student loans really quick, and then I was like, let's pay off your student loans. And then I remember I wanted to do landscaping at our first house.
I remember
And
that.
the fact that do you remember? It was
Yeah.
gorgeous too. And now I drive by and the owners have not taken care of it. And I'm like, ah. But I think it was like $1,500 or $2,000 for the landscaping. And it felt so good to be able to be like, let's do it. Like
Mm,
that stuff I never could have imagined, but like it was all these small things. And then I mean, there's at one point we were talking about my husband being able to leave his job. And so that was a huge driver for like a year. But then he revealed to me that he actually would love to be like a leader there one day. So I was like, well, you're not leaving your job then. Like, this is a good conversation.
yeah.
So it was like, okay, let's pay off my car. Let's pay off your truck. All right, I guess let's pay off the house. Like it just kind of kept growing.
Mhm.
Um, and then most recently we paid off the house, and it was like, well, let's pay to redo our kitchen and have someone else do it versus us doing the work ourselves, which is great, but it can also be like there's no time to work on other things when you're doing
Mhm.
that. And so we've recently done that in cash, and yeah, like it is continuing to have new goals to work towards. Like, what would this money mean? Or
Mm,
like being able to do a big donation, or like just stuff like that. And then what does success mean now? Like success isn't necessarily tied to the money. I guess success to me is kind of like freedom of choice.
mhm.
And obviously having more income allows you to feel more freedom, because I don't feel tied to have to show up to something from 9 to 5.
Mhm.
I don't feel scared that if I don't do this, I won't have enough to provide for my family, which are real things that exist for people. And I had to work out of that.
Mhm.
So success is having that freedom of choice. But then also I feel like success is finding that sweet spot between like being so satisfied and content with what is in the moment and enjoying it, but also never getting too comfortable there.
Mhm.
Right now it's my current battle, because they seem like two contrasting things. Like, because there's so much I know I have like I feel limitless, which is such a cool thing. Because when you met me, I did not feel limitless. I was creating limits for everyone around me, so no one went anywhere. But now to feel limitless is such a cool thing. But then also, it's like, okay, just chill.
Mhm.
Be so happy with what you have instead of always dreaming about what's next. And like success is just that sweet spot where you like can manage both or have moments of both.
Mhm.
Oh, it takes my breath away because it's still something I'm trying to figure out, but that's what success feels like, I guess.
Do you feel like a different person now that not to say that you have arrived, but now that you're in such a different place financially? I know for a fact, and I love your transformation. You have transformed like as a human.
Yeah.
And here being in the spot where you can say, yes, I've made it, whether it's 7 figure or whatever the number is in the business, right? So when you get to a certain point and you kind of feel like you made it, do you feel like a different person?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I can still remember what I used to feel like. And so there's sometimes, I don't know, maybe other people who go through big transformations, and keep in mind, this has been like 11 years in the process here, but sometimes I can remember that and I'm always kind of fighting to get away from that. Or I can get scared that I might fall back there. But I do feel like a really different person. And I'm proud. Like, I just imagine what my kids' lives would have been like if I continued to be that person. And when I look at it like that versus just looking at it like me, I see a drastic difference quickly that I'm super excited about, because I can just see the completely different life they would have. Because when you're changing, you don't always notice, but when you can think about the ripple effect it means for other things, you can be like, whoa, like that could be so drastic.
For sure. That's awesome. Do you ever feel like you're battling the old beliefs you had? And have you had any beliefs? Like growing up, what was the conversation about money around the dinner table? What was?
There was none. I remember even asking my mom, like when an election was going on, who she was voting for. And she said, I don't have to tell you. And I was like, oh, okay. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know my mom. thinks this or that. Like
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't a ton of conversation. But I was an only child and my parents both had decent jobs and I never felt like we didn't have money. So I did get used to that lifestyle. Like I kind of knew like that's how, like if we took a vacation every year. So I was like, we take vacations every year. So there were kind of these, sometimes you listen to people who are like, I'd see other families doing that. And so that's what I wanted to have for my family. And I feel like I was just very lackadaisical through life. Like just, I must have had some guardian angels helping me things came a little bit easy. And sometimes I'm just like, gosh, if I had woken up and tapped into potential sooner, like where could I have been? But then I'm grateful I figured it out, at least in my 30s. But there weren't a lot of conversations around it. It was more me just realizing that, hey, if I put in a little effort, I can go really far. So I think it was more just like I was kind of trained in life to just kind of show up and you don't have to go above and beyond. And that's the thing I had to fight, was that if I give an extra degree, things can dramatically change.
So interesting. So interesting. Uh, my reality was the opposite. I come from a, lower middle class family. That there was always a kind of not a conversation even, but the sense of stress. Like there was never enough, or something can happen and we wouldn't have enough. So for me, and I think it's such a common belief in general, like you were talking about scarcity, I believe it's a reality for so many people, whether they take it on themselves or it's been kind of imposed on them. Like there is not enough. And
Mhm.
I think that I had to actively fight as an adult in my belief. And I remember one day waking up thinking, it's like, oh my God, I do think that wealthy people are evil. Rich people are greedy, or they got their money by tricking others, or, if they have more, we have less. And this opposition, which when I came to realize that, it's like, this is BS and I hate that. I love that. And I worked on that just like you have, saying, hey, she has it, so I get to have it. And as success started to trickle in, it's like, oh my God, what else is possible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Like you said, like it's so easy to just make yourself feel better by deciding, well, they're bad. I'd rather live this virtuous life than have money. Like that's such a common one. Or you just decide like, that's not me, that's them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it is limiting. It's identifying your limiting beliefs and being ready to be like, what if I could think this instead when that one pops up? Self-awareness.
Yeah, big one for sure. How does the conversation go with your children and your husband? I know two separate questions, but let's talk about your children first. Do you guys talk openly about money? How are you shaping their beliefs and helping them navigate the life of financial success especially in a town that is, income level general is quite low. So feeling that gap or sensing that gap, how do you prepare them for that?
Well, with my husband, he's been so supportive. He was very skeptical when I first started this. And I had to keep in mind. So sometimes some people are skeptical. Like so if anyone is listening and they're wanting to start a business, or you're in something that's not the norm and there's all a bunch of people ready to give you judgments, try to remember where they're coming from, and it might give you a little bit more compassion. Like I had to remember that my husband's ex-wife sold Avon. I never met the woman, so I could easily forget. But when I moved into his house, there were Avon boxes everywhere. And like, for some Christmases, I got some leftover Avon products that he must have just found places. So I'm like, okay, this was a real thing. She was part of a network marketing company and he saw tons of product come in and no money ever made from it, and just her using the stuff. So this is like his perspective of it. So we had a lot of conversations while I was growing the business about what I was doing. Plus I was on the computer. I was on my phone where it could look like I'm playing Candy Crush. I don't even have a game on my phone. So like, I hate when people think I'm playing games. I don't even have games on my phone. I'm literally working a business that has changed our lives on my phone. And that's a beauty of it. But so there's been a lot of conversations like, oh my gosh, I got to tell you, Chris, about what this woman just told me. Like she's in a pair of jeans she hasn't worn in 5 years. Like, that's so cool. Like, what if I had never invited her? Like just realizing that the power of that kind of stuff. And then of course, as the income would grow, I'd be like, look what we made this week. Look what we made this week. And so my income has surpassed Chris's as a paramedic. I'm always like, gosh, she could save someone's life, but he's never going to make a ton of money that would give, this freedom of choice. But he's never once ever been weird about it. He's like, heck yeah, like pay off my truck. Thank you. So he's had a really great, like Chris is just never someone who's been too stuck in gender roles ever, which sometimes works to my disadvantage when I tell him it's his job to take out the trash. So now I just have to say those are Chris jobs, like stuff like that. But so he's never made me feel like I couldn't do something because I'm the wife or something like that. So he's been super supportive. And, you know, now we talk about like investing in retirement and what account would benefit us most. And he's also taken on a lot of the taxes for the business, which is great because taxes make me sad. It's just not fun to figure out all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he's helpful there. And with my kids, I mean, they're in first and second grade, and I talk to them a lot about what I'm doing on the computer. I'll say things like, you know, we're able to do this because, you know, those Zooms that mom does sometimes at night, or, you know, how I talked to my client the other day on the phone, like that business pays for this kind of stuff. Like helping them realize that they might see their friends who have moms or dads that work more this traditional job, even though I think jobs nowadays are getting a little bit less traditional, because I do think employers are realizing that happy employees matter more.
Yeah.
So like that structure of work is starting to change, but that I'm working too in a different way, even though I might be home. And then like they earn tickets. Tickets are their money for good behaviors and good choices. And then they're able to buy each other birthday presents, like time with tablets, things like that. So that's kind of like getting to be their concept of money. But yeah, there hasn't been too many conversations about it, but I just know what they see. I know they see me being consistent every day, being able to work this from home. They see their dad who's a paramedic and a firefighter working that job. Like, I like what they see. They see someone who's very like got this community oriented job, like community kind of hero kind of vibe. And then they see someone at home connecting with people all over, helping them in a positive way.
That's awesome. That's incredible. All right. Do you ever wrestle with the feeling of being privileged now that you have more than enough, more than most, more than some, I should say?
Yeah. I mean, it can be hard to talk about. I'm very empathetic and I can feel all the things from all the different points of view. And so me talking about being able to pay for my kitchen in cash, like I might say to my husband, like, I can't believe, like, I don't even see a dent in our account. Like, that's so cool. Like, we just paid for this brand new kitchen, but like, you don't even really notice. Like, the guy who came to measure our tile the other day, I said something about wanting to redo the carpets upstairs. And he said something like, yeah, it might not be bad to take a break, let those funds build back up. And I was just like, okay. And I was telling my husband later that he said that. And I was like, that's a real thing. But like, we don't have to worry about that. But I can't go post that on social media. I don't want to be like that. Like it can be hard. You can't focus on what everyone else thinks and where everyone else might be, but also just being considerate. It's more like I want people to realize, you know, you don't have to make $1 million, but gosh, an extra $100 a week changes families. Like when I was making an extra $200 a week, we already had less stress. One of the first things I did when I got extra income coming in from my coaching business was hire someone to come clean, because Chris and I would fight because he would make a mess in the bathroom and I'm the one who cleaned it. And so I would just be so agitated. And I have not cleaned a toilet or a sink in probably like 8 years. And we have not fought about it. So it's like the best money to spend there. But I try to talk about what it could mean, like what having more income could mean for your life. More than anything, instead of just putting figures out there. I think that makes it seem unreal when you just put figures out there, and it's more like, this is the journey and here's what I'm able to do now. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. And okay. I love that you mentioned social media, because I think especially women who are driven and ambitious and career oriented and are willing to work for their money, right? So those of us who start stepping out of a traditional job and start trying side gigs and multi-level, marketing and what have you, you start following people for inspiration, and you start seeing that there are two, I feel like there were two schools there. Either, oh, I made 7 figures and I'm 6 figure a month and I'm this, and like so cliche almost. And then you have people who you can tell they're clearly wealthy and well off, and they're like, oh, money doesn't matter. Of course it doesn't matter when you have it. And I think it creates this major dissonance there for women. Somebody's telling you, oh, I'm making 7 figure, and somebody's like, well, I'm just happy with my $60,000 a year job.
Mm.
Or somebody who's like clearly on another level and say, oh, don't worry about that, that's not even so important, but here's my $50,000 vacation rental for a week, which is, God. So I think it just creates this weird dynamic in that world. And I love how real you are when you talk about it. And I'm totally on a rant about this. But if somebody is out there and says, I have a good life, and that's, a lot of women I work with, they already have a good life. They have good income, they're comfortable, but they have that earning to do more and
Mhm.
to have more. And I think some of us just talk ourselves into, well, this is good enough. This is more than I ever expected. This is more than my $40,000. But seeing that potential without, thinking that it's not for you or it's reserved for only select few. How do you talk to your team? I know part of your business is training, maybe not the right word, but inspiring women and moving them to action and helping them see that bigger picture and bigger possibility for themselves. How do you talk from a place of already having success to somebody who is, who's ways away from where you are?
Yeah, there's so many things out there that can just confuse you in nutrition and money and so many things. Um, and like I said, success to me right now is that spot where you're happy, but you're not settled because there's so much potential. Like I want to spend the rest of my life unlocking potential. And that might not always be just generated to income or like connected to income, but more income creates more choices. It creates even more potential. When I talk to my team, it really is helping them. I know for me, like I said, I had to be not too far from my comfort zone. Like I literally have stickers, live 5 feet from your comfort zone, because it became my motto. Like if I was watching someone who was like, I'm a seven figure earner, let me teach you how to do that in a year. Like I'm just not equipped to handle that kind of pressure. And I would easily be like, it didn't work. I'm done. I'm out of here. And living 5 feet from my comfort zone was just like little tiny steps. So we talk so much about like, what would an extra $100 do for your family? Like that Garmin. And then it's like a little bigger, a little bigger, a little bigger. Like I hated the phrase dream big. And now I don't mind it because I can dream big. But like I had to dream a little more, dream a little more. And so also like with our team, like I can't just get on there and be like, this was my paycheck this week, you guys. Because I realized too, like if I saw someone do that, I'd be like, they're making money off me. What the heck? Like I just kind of got very skeptical about it. And then I didn't want to do anything. And I was like, the harder I work, the more money they make, which isn't at all how network marketing works. That stuff's like been taken out by the FCC, I think, is the organization that did that. Like you can't get away with that kind of stuff. And Beachbody's got an amazing compensation plan where you get rewarded for helping your teammates grow. And so we feature other people's success. I'm like, someone had their biggest paycheck ever, $220. That's huge. Like when you work another job, you already have your family income and you make an extra $220 in a week. That's such a big deal. And that's so exciting. And I'll be like, will you go share like what you did, what that means to you guys? And so just trying to really share those other people that are starting to make income in this, because it really is the compound effect in this. It might be like $100, $200, maybe soon it's like $500. And it's probably similar in a lot of businesses. Even gosh, in my planners, like we're not making bank at all on the planners. Like we just love the planners, but this first year was not a profit. And I got to remember, like, this is how businesses is. And if you just stick in it and you continue to share stories and success, and you remember why you want to do it in the first place, then the curve gets really big. that's when like all of a sudden, like once you're at 2,000, it compounds to 4,000 faster.
Mhm.
I have to imagine that's true for a lot of businesses, is you got to just be in it because your heart's there and you're putting people first over profits. And then that takes off. But I guess more just really trying to dream just a little bit out of their comfort zone and featuring other success beyond my own.
I love that. That's awesome. Let me ask you one more question. You were talking that it popped up. We talked about that. Oh yeah, a while back we were talking, and you mentioned that when you started, that it was easy to get sucked into comparison and basically just shut down. How did you find your voice? And we're going to talk a little bit, whether it's multi-level marketing or people starting businesses online, like I am now. There are a lot of people doing the same thing, no matter
Mhm.
what it is. I mean, it's 2021. Everything has been invented to the degree. Everybody has just a little bit of difference. Like, how did you find your voice in the sea of sameness? And 500,000, right? At one point, Beachbody had 500,000 coaches. How do you stand out?
Mhm. Well, okay. Two parts there. So it's kind of my own feeling about it. And then I'll give you some tactical things I actually did. Um, I had to remember, like, like in Beachbody, we have a goal of hitting what's called Success Club. And if you help 3 people a month get started, they're investing in some health and fitness tools. I'm coaching them. Then you qualify for Success Club. And so that became a goal of mine to be like, let me just hit this benchmark. That
Mm,
means continuous growth. And like when I would feel overwhelmed by the sea of people and social media, and I'm like, I only got to find 3 people. Like I just remind myself that so much of business and success isn't masses. It could be one person that you already know.
mhm,
That's like, and so often when I look at the people I work with, they come to me from a referral. Or there's someone who has been following me for like 6 years now, or there's someone who I had met like back in the day and now we live in different towns, but we reconnected on social media. Like, so like I think we forget how many people we actually have access to. We can get in our own little like reclusive little world and then be overwhelmed at like, oh my gosh, that girl who's got 2.2 million followers, she's got them all. They're all following her. They might follow her because she's entertaining, but they might not relate to her like they relate to you.
mhm,
So I just remind myself, I'm like, it's really only 3 people. And to have a super successful business that now generates this kind of income, it's continued to be like 3 people, three
mhm.
people. Can I find 3 people a month and then continue to support people that I have? And then to the second part of that, some things that I actually did, I just had to be me. I'm not good at being anyone else. And so I already had a strength of being authentic, but I had to get over what people might think of me when I started being my authentic self on social media. And so it's funny when I look at my Facebook memories, the stuff I post, I was like, oh, I don't know if I would say that now because I feel like, and now we're in a different time where like anything you say can be picked apart. But
Mhm.
I was like, that was convicted. I liked that I wrote that. And wasn't fancy. Like pictures were not that great. And I'm like, I can't believe I posted myself in a sports bra doing that. But I was very authentically me. And then I know that like I started doing like I was like, what do I got? Oh, I'm a group fitness instructor. Let me make up 5-minute workout routines. And I just started sharing those. And I did this group called like 75-day button legs. And I did a 5-minute workout every single day. And I said, I'm doing this because I'm going on a cruise and I'm pregnant and I'm pissed I'm going on a cruise while I'm pregnant. Like not the ideal timing for that. But I was like, I'm gonna make sure my bottom half looks great. And so I showed up in a sports bra, pregnant belly, doing these videos in this group. But I didn't just, sometimes people put the effort in, they do this great thing. But the extra part of that that makes a difference is I friended every single person in that group. And I started a there was like 900 people in that group. It was crazy because I was just like, invite your friends, invite your friends. And I was very much like, I'm doing this no matter what. And I
Mhm.
think the fact that I was pregnant at the time took away a lot of people's excuses who were just like, if this
Mhm.
lady can do this, I can do this. So you don't have to be pregnant. You don't have to be a fitness instructor. It's more like, what do you got? Like, are you pretty good at cooking? Are you really good at like quick little do it yourself projects where you could be like, let me show you really quick how to fix your toilet that keeps running. Like
Mhm.
that's always a thing. Um, like, what could you offer? So it was offering um, value and then taking advantage of building relationships with the people who wanted your value. And I think that was a huge thing for me as I did that. For probably a couple of years, I would run free groups like that and build relationships with those people. And it created a really strong market outside of my warm market. Um, so that would probably be one of the biggest things.
Gotcha. Awesome. So tell me this. We'll wrap up on this. I think that's a great point to ask. So here's a woman. She's working a day job. She likes her job. She has a nice life. She's pretty comfortable. She's comfortable financially, but she has this desire to start something. And it's driven partially by financial desire, but also just to express yourself or, you know, feel more fulfilled with what you do. What would you tell that woman who is comfy but has a little bit of drive? Sometimes people say, rags to riches. When you have nothing to lose, it's pretty easy to start, build a success story and say, hey, I had absolutely nothing. But when you have something and you have something to lose and you're worried how people are going to look at you and whether it's worth trying, whether it's worth the sacrifice, maybe enough is good enough. Like, how do you break out of that mediocrity of just good enough?
Yeah. I mean, just 5 feet, just 5 feet, you know, 5 feet from your comfort zone. But, and also like when you first started describing the situation, I think I would say to that person, like, but what would you, if you had extra money and you could do something impactful with it, what would it be? But then also I would, like in my business, I'd be like, I mean, you value your health. Like so much of our journey as coaches is our own journey with our health, from our mindsets to our midsections. So that's a huge part of why people come to this team. And
Mhm.
then like as they get more and more into that and convicted about that and feel great because of that, it becomes natural to kind of share it. It is a little bit more of a process a lot of times in our business. But then it's kind of like I was just listening to a call this morning from another successful coach who um, wanted to start a swim school in her home country of Nigeria because the third leading cause of death in Nigeria is drowning because people don't know how to swim. Right. And so she's like, that's going to be my why. Any extra income I make from Beachbody, I want to put towards this fund to be able to give back to my country. And I love that stuff. So, like, maybe sometimes everyone's motivated, everyone has motivation. It's just tapping into how you're motivated because everyone's motivated a little bit differently. Some people will put the tiki huts in Fiji on their wall and look at that every day and be like, I'm going there, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's freaking awesome. You just visualized an amazing vacation and worked towards it. And for this woman, Rosalie, who was so awesome to listen to, she wants to give back to her country in such a meaningful way. Like that gives me chills. Like for my birthday, I just did a fundraiser where I wanted to donate money and people join me in a fitness challenge to this organization that gets children like out in nature,
Mhm.
which that makes me passionate. Like I could see myself doing more with that later, like wanting to fund things that got youth into nature so they learn to have an appreciation for it and not just think life is their cell phone. So think about something that really fires you up, because you taking that drive to want to do more and create something could impact that. Like maybe you just need to make it less about yourself because maybe that makes you feel greedy.
Mhm.
And that's a whole nother thing that you shouldn't, but like you got to work on that. Like it's a real feeling that's there and you have to ask yourself why and all that stuff. But I mean, the quickest route around that could be like, what could it do for someone else? Because instantly it's funny, like people who work for fundraising organizations or volunteer, like have no problem hitting you up. Like, I can't believe I get hit up for Girl Scout cookies all the time. And my daughter is a Girl Scout.
Mhm.
And they don't have any problem asking,
Yeah.
or like making money for the Girl Scout organization. So yeah.
Love it. I love it. One more thing I wanted to touch on just popped up when you said about asking. When I was a part of Beachbody and the whole concept of multi-level marketing really opened up the world of entrepreneurship for me. And even though I chose not to follow that business model, it still showed me what's possible. And it really transformed my mind and it really taught me to think differently about selling. However, one of the things and one of the hangups I had with Beachbody approach was that you're not selling, you're sharing. But let's be honest, when you run a business and if you're truly offering your service or a product, you are selling, right? So how do we go from a place of, I don't want to ask for a sale, or I'm just doing this because out of the kindness of my heart. And I think there is like this gap between being okay saying, yes, I do it for bigger reasons than just paycheck, but also I am I am selling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not the word to use, but the transaction has to take place. There is an exchange of value. I provide you with value. You, pay a certain amount of money for that. How do we normalize the idea of when you build a business, you are selling yourself or a product? And how do we make that okay? Because I feel like in the business world too, it's like part of the thing is like, oh, they're just trying to sell something to me. So they profit, they benefit.
Right. So you have to share the value. And I know whenever I talk to a coach who's like, I keep getting price objections, I hear you don't believe strong enough in what you have. And so I know for me, because I felt very much like, I don't want them to think I'm selling them something. It was such a thing. Once I got amazing results, my husband's blood work changed. Like I was like, oh, this works. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, I know in the health and fitness industry, it's like billions of dollars every year in the US being spent on health and fitness. And then I started thinking about what I've spent money on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I bought like 3 vitamins one time that were $80 for just 3 vitamins, and like Xenadrin and all these other scary things that I've done. And so I just looked at the cost of what I offered in Beachbody and I was like, oh my gosh, what they get for this is amazing compared to what they might be spending their money on. They don't get a coach. They don't get the nutrition. They don't get the full like fitness, nutrition, support. And so this is just like, it might sound like a sales pitch to someone, but this is what I truly believe.
Yeah.
So it was more my belief being like, I'm so convicted that I want them to spend their money with me because I know they'll get better results. Like, I don't want them to waste their money over here and have another thing that goes into the column of this doesn't work. This cost me money. This doesn't work. So that's just my own belief about it. I got really convicted about my ability to partner with this company that I believe in what they make because I believe it works if you use it. And then my coaching. And so the transaction takes place, but I never second guess it because I know that they can return it if they hate it, but I know they're not going to. I know that I'm going to make sure it's like, okay, it's day one. Are you ready? Like, we're pressing play. What's the food plan? Like, you're going to check in with me at the end of the day. Like, I'm going to make sure that they actually get a solid start. And I'm probably not going to stop touching base with them until I feel like they're pretty good. But even with our planners, like, I don't feel bad when someone buys it because I'm like, it's going to change your life. So that's how you have to, if you're with something you don't feel that about, it's always going to be an issue.
Yeah. Belief and value. If you're behind that, it's not really, it's not an issue.
Yeah. And I'm not talking to them about necessarily just the price. Like, when someone wants to work with me, I'm like, all right, here's your different choices. They might have a couple of different purchase options. And I tell them what they get and why it's valuable. Yeah. And then I ask them to spend, to pick whichever one feels the best for them. And I always think about, like, when I go buy things like a refrigerator, I know I got to spend at least $1,000 probably on a fridge. I don't want the cheapest fridge. I don't want the most expensive fridge. I want a fridge that's a great investment that I'm going to feel good about. Like, I'm happy with the purchase. So, like, everything in life, like you said, Jenya, is like a purchase, a sale, like all this stuff. And I think, like, I'm happy when I worked with the guy who got us our fridge because he made me feel really great about my purchase, and I'm grateful for that. So I always think I want them to feel so good about how they just invested their money. And now it's like, I can't wait to see, like, where they don't even think about it anymore. It's like, look what this, I finally did it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Good.
Excellent. I feel like we can just make a whole ebook here from just the notes of how to think about running a business and building financial success in your life. So good. Any closing thoughts, anything you'd want us to leave with, and women who are inspired and moved and are movers and shakers and want more in life? What would you tell them?
So many things. I think your mindset is your most powerful thing. I remember I did a post one time just talking about how sometimes people think I just get so much done. It's amazing that I get so much done. And I made this list of all the things. Like, I asked my husband to go to the grocery store today. I have grandparents in standby who help out. Like, I paid to have an assistant help me with graphics, like really just helping them see, like, I've asked for help at this point. Like, you don't get here without asking for help. And I had written in there, every other week I have a wonderful woman come to my house and clean. And it's so helpful. And someone wrote in the comments, it had tons of comments and people were really grateful to see it. And then one person wrote, must be nice to have extra money. And it made me so mad because I was like, she doesn't even get it. Like, I don't just have extra money. I decided I wanted to have extra money. And I got up and I freaking worked for it. I did my job and then I went home. Like, I put in hours. Like, now I'm at a point where I have way more time flexibility. But I mean, for like 3 or 4 years there, I would work my job. I had a baby. She'd sleep on the couch next to me and I would be working my business till like 11 o'clock at night. And so, like, you don't get extra income and grow without being willing to work for it. And so, if anything, it's just realizing that some people won't ever see that, but like, don't fall into that trap where you're like, it must be nice. It must be nice. If you are saying must be nice to be a size 2, must be nice to make an extra $100,000 a year, must be nice to have a husband who loves you, you are limiting yourself. That is like your cue to realize like you're never going to get better if you're doing must be nice phrases.
I love that. So good. So good. Could not agree.
Good. Oh my gosh, my nose, Jen. I'm so sorry. I'm like,
very good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us on today. I'm going to share it everywhere I can. And I encourage every woman who is feeling like there is more for her, but she doesn't know if it's actually valuable, to tap in and listen and take notes and think on it. And I fully agree with you, Sarah, that mindset, and it all starts with self-awareness and being able to take action and call yourself out on your own BS and acknowledge your limiting stories and know that they don't define you. And I love your transformation. Let me just say, knowing you for 10 years plus, and from that first gym class we took together and we worked together and we've been on the same Beachbody team, you transform from the inside out. You're one of the people that actually follow their fitness transformation as the time went on, and you look better than you ever had. Not like you ever look bad, but you look super fit and super happy, and the shine definitely radiates from the inside.
oh, Jen, that means so much. And that's one more important thing too, is just to remember, like, listen to the people who make you feel really good. And Jenya does have credibility to be one of those people because she really has seen me at my worst. And she doesn't ever feel like there's never any negative feelings there. She's just like, I'm so proud. Whoa, who are you? And so when Jenya tells me that stuff, I really take compliments like that to heart. So when you have people like that in your life, like, just keep them and listen to them and try not to listen to some of the other people.
I think that's a great point, especially if you are on social media, right?
Oh, yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me pause the recording.